Hey guys, so I recorded this video months ago, and I'm finally getting around to editing it and posting it, and I realize it's pretty long, and I talk kind of slowly. So if you want to speed it up, I'd speed it up so it doesn't drag out as long, and I would suggest doing something else while watching it, obviously. So yeah, I want to apologize for it being long, but also just leave if you don't want to watch it. Bye.
Today we're gonna finally do my watercolor collection video. I love watching these kinds of things. I've liked watching them as long as I've had my watercolor journey, and that's been a few years. And I have a little bit of a collection that I've accumulated. Most of it has actually been in the last couple of years because I got the paints in this palette, like the original paints in this palette. I've replaced many in this so far, but the original paints in this palette I got when I was either a sophomore or junior in high school. I think it was sophomore in high school. And that was, I'm a senior in college now. So that was senior, junior, sophomore, freshman, senior. That's at least 7 years that I got the original set that this was in. So let's just start. This palette is my main palette. I used this for like everything until about last year, like sophomore year of college, and um, it was originally a Yarka St. Petersburg 24 set, like the original 24 set. They have different versions. I actually like having my palette like this so much better. The original set. What was I saying? This is the original set of this was the Yarka St. Petersburg 24 original set. They have like an extended set, they have like a second kind of version set and all sorts of stuff. And they have 36, 36 color set. They might have a 24 color set. They have a 12 color set as well, but I had the 24 color set. And I got that because it was the cheapest professional paints that I could get at the time, because I didn't want to get student grade paints, because I'm like, well, if I'm getting serious about this, I want to get professional grade paints, but I didn't have enough money to buy like a Schminke set. I don't even have a Schminke set now. I didn't have enough money to buy a Schminke set or a Sennelier set or a Rembrandt set or something like that. So I got the original. I'll probably insert it, what my original set looked like. It had a plastic case, and I got that original set. What am I saying? Oh yeah, it was about $55 on Dick Blick. You can get it on Amazon and other places, but I think I got it there because at the time that was the cheapest that I could get it, and I didn't pay for it. My mom paid for it, but yeah. So this is not that original set. What happened was when I moved to college, I shipped it, and the plastic case broke. So I needed to get an actual tin. And also, the plastic wasn't really nice for blending. There was lots of staining that happened. And I did not like that. So I eventually got this case, which is a Meeden case. I wanted a Schminke case, but those are like $80. And I thought better of it because I don't actually need something that expensive. This was $13. I got it on eBay. You can get them on Amazon, I think, now, and they're cheaper, possibly, and they have Prime, but I got this on eBay at the time. I got it from China, and it took maybe a month to get to where I was. And then I just took the paints out of that set and put them in here. But as you can see, there's some extra pans in here that weren't in the 24 set. There's actually 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28 whole pans in here, and then some 2 extra pans. These are different. I'll talk about this later. So the thing is with this, The reason I like the Yarka set is because the pans are in a regular shape and like size. Like they have this transparent kind of plastic case. It's not the typical Western um, white casing, because these are Russian paints. Well, they were Russian paints, and um, they're also known as the White Knights paints. This is actually the same brand, but um, the the packaging is a little bit different. I like them because they're a little smaller, so I can fit more colors in what would typically be 24 set, and people would space them out. Weird, but I like this set. This case, right? This not case. This pan right here was from like Prang set, a cheap Prang half pan that I scraped out, and I put this. This is a Holbein paint. So the thing with this is most of these colors are not the original Yarka colors. I've got some Cotman, I've got some Winsor Newton Professional. This is Daniel Smith, my favorite two colors, Daniel Smith, ultramarine blue. This is anthraquinoid red, which replaces alizarin for me because this is light fast. That's Daniel Smith, that's Daniel Smith. There's some Holbein in here. There's some Grombacher in here. I've got a lot of assorted tubes that I just refill the colors that I want. This is like my main squeeze palette. So I like buying pans because once you have them, you can refill them. And half pans are kind of weirdly expensive, just like empty ones. So there's an assorted brand situation going on here, and maybe in a separate video I'll get even more in depth than I've gotten. But these two, I have a gold and a silver, and they're from Letter Sparrow, which is this handmade watercolor website, Instagram. I follow them on Instagram and I really like them, and one day I want to get a whole palette, but they're really expensive because they're handmade. I would also like to make my own paint someday. But I wanted a gold and a silver just for fun, and so I added them here, and I put them in this palette because there's really no other place to put them. Oh, and here I've got little dabs of some Winsor Newton tubes. It was from a limited edition Twilight set. But yeah, so this is my main palette. Yeah, so there's that. Ask me any questions in the description, not the description, in the comments, if you have any questions about it. Yeah, so it's just a cheap metal case. I actually don't mind this case. I really like it. If I got an $80 Schminke case, I would be much more afraid of like throwing it in my backpack and carrying it around. I like this because it has like 28 colors that I can carry with me. That's a good amount for the kind of work I do, portraits and illustration. I can put it in my backpack. I can work in the thing, but I usually have a separate mixing area, like a plate or a butcher's tray. Yeah, so that's why I love this one. This is my favorite palette. I'll bring this out by default. Also because it has like my favorite colors and favorite versions of some colors. Although there are certain colors in here I don't really use that much because it had originally come in a different set. So this is like a Frankenstein. It was a Yarka set, and now it's a Frankenstein. Okay, I talked about this set for a while. We're moving on. Okay. Next. Okay. This next palette is a palette you've probably seen if you are into watercolors and have been on the internet. It's the Winsor Newton 40 pan Cotman set. I think it's 40 pans. It might be 42, but I think it's 40 pans. But there's actually only like 35 Cotman colors, something like that. There's more paints in here than there are Cotman colors. So there's actually doubles when you buy it. And there's like double alizarin, double ultramarine, double black maybe, double ochre. Not all of the paints are in here. Some I've moved to different places that you might see later. And the doubles I put for when I finish these. I actually didn't like this palette very much when I got it, and I don't really use it as much as I I could because I have my main palette. And there's just a lot of colors on here. Although some of these colors I like because they're different and they're not like typical. Because like a typical 12 set or 24 set comes with a certain array of typical colors. But the more experience you have with watercolors, the more you pick colors that you like. Yeah, so I have this palette. It's pretty good. When I got it, I didn't like it because I didn't like that the Cotman's pans are, like, the way they make them, they're not, like, poured into the palettes. They're not semi-wet like the other brands that I like Holbein or Daniel Smith or the Yarkas. So they don't re-wet as easily, which kind of pisses me off. A lot of people like these paints, though, which is fine, and they are pretty good, and I like them for glazing and stuff, but that irritates me. And let me explain that more, because I have more Cotman sets. In addition to this set, I've got this set, which is a, like, pocket plus something or other set. You hear that? That is the paints falling out of their pans. This is a 24 pan set, and look at that. They're so dry, and they don't pour in that they fall out. I think they, like, probably make them in a log, and then they chop them up, and then they put them in the pans. So I've never used this palette, I don't think. I think maybe I've swatched some of these, but first of all these colors I have in this palette, so it's like, I don't need to use this. So you might be wondering, if you don't use it, why do you have it? Let me tell you a little story of a girl who wanted to buy some watercolors. So I, at the time, only had this palette, and I wanted to try some more brands because I was working. I am still working, but I had a job, and I'm like, the only thing I like to buy is like food and paints, and painting is my job. So I justified, and I went on eBay, and I found a set like this for like $35 on eBay. And I think some places this is like 50, maybe 60 bucks. There's no way I would ever pay that much for this, but that's a separate thing. And I'm like, that's a deal. So I ordered this, but it was eBay, so you have to bid, and I didn't know if I would win. And then I saw on UK eBay this and this together, and someone was selling both of these for like $35. And like, this is worth $35 and this is worth like $50. So I'm like, oh my gosh, what a deal. And I guess they got this as a gift, and they must be cheaper in the UK because Winsor Newton is a UK brand, and the people didn't want them. So they were selling these. So then I had bids on both of these, and you're like, wow, she has an excessive amount of paints. That's bad. Let me remind you, I hate disclaimers because I think it's stupid. No offense, but I think it's dumb for people to come on people's videos when they're showing their collections and being like, you have too many paints. First of all, it's my job. And even if it wasn't my job, I can spend my money on whatever I want. Okay, sidebar over. But I only intended to get one, and I was hoping I'd get this one, and I would lose this bid, but that didn't happen. So I had to buy them both. And the problem is with eBay, like, you have to have a local address. So I had to get my cousin who lives in London to get this. I sent it to his house, and then he had to, like, pick it up from the post office because they delivered it when he wasn't home, and then he had to ship it to me. It was this whole thing, and then I got them, and I love him. It was so great. Shout out to you, Jess. You're awesome. And so now I have all these paints. I was like, this is too much. And then I tried them. I didn't really like them at first. I like them now, like I said. But I didn't really like them so much. And I'm like, this is an excessive amount of paint. And I like having different kinds of palettes, so I wanted to keep this one and keep one of them. So I actually gave this to my friend, but then she didn't use it, so she gave it back. So now I'm like, I guess I'll just keep this for when I finish this or something. I mean, one day I'll finish all the paints in one of them, and then I'll change all those paints with something else that's probably not Cotman, so it'll be nice to have another set. So it's like, already, that's 4 palettes of irritated. Yeah, so I showed you why I don't use this one. But then, alas, I also got this little pocket Cotman set. And it's funny that the most palettes I have are for a set of paints that I don't even really like, a brand that I don't really like. Although they are growing on me, I will say. Like, I tried New Gamboge for the first time in this set, and I like it a lot as a color, and there are certain other colors that I tried that I like. Although I might get them in Daniel Smith, because Daniel Smith is my favorite. I got this used. I go to Raylan College of Art and Design. I'm a senior, and we have this page called Free and For Sale, where people will like sell their old stuff. And someone was selling this, and I have this eyes, like when I see watercolors, I want to buy them. And I'm like, I don't have a little set. I'll buy it. I'll try it. I actually got this before I got these, let me just say. So it's just a 12 set. Why it comes with white and black. Is this black? No, that's not black. I don't think. Maybe it is. No, it's not. It's burnt umber. It comes with white for some reason. So I got this little set. It was used so the paints don't fall as easy, but they still kind of fall out, which bothers me. I don't want my paints to fall out. Look at that. Frustration. Can you hear that silence? Anyway. So, yeah, I have this set. So I have all these Cotman sets. Maybe eventually I'll give this away. Although, this is like half used since my friend used them. And some of the colors are broken. But yeah, like lots of these. Yeah. I won't give this away. I'll keep it. Eventually I'll need it. Eventually I'll run out of paint. I don't need to buy more paint for a while, to be perfectly honest. Although, sometimes I buy things to replace this one. I just keep showing this set because it's my favorite. I love it. Okay. Moving on. Okay. So next palette that I have is this. It is a bulletproof watercolor palette from Majella. I also bought this used. Yay! It's so good that I go to an art school where people sell art supplies, and I'm like one of the only people who's obsessed with watercolor. Because guess how much I got this for? I got this for $2. You're like, what? I'm assuming that the paints inside are, you can't see this whole thing in the, I don't want to zoom out too much because I'm going to see other things on my desk. But the paints in here, I'm assuming, sorry, that's my computer. Don't be too upset about it. The paints in here, I'm assuming are Majella. I don't actually know if they're Majella, but certain colors, like there's a peacock blue here that isn't in some other brands, and just the arrangement of the colors makes me think that it's Majella. When I got this whole thing was really dirty. Maybe I'll insert the video. I took a Insta story to share with my followers when I bought it. I'll try finding that, inserting that. If I don't insert it, well, I was lazy. Yeah, so this was like totally messed up, but it was like $2, and I got it at an end of the year, like yard sale kind of flea market that they have here. And she was just selling it for $2, and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, it's a Majella set. I'm like, maybe I can have the palette even if there weren't any paints inside, because, well, but like this palette, I have no idea how much it retails for, but I'm assuming it's not like $5. It's probably like $20 to $30. I could probably find how much it costs, but we'll see. And I'm like, maybe I'll have the case, but then I opened it and there were paints in there. It was just really messy. I've used this a couple times, but I haven't used it a lot because I just default go to a palette that's smaller, because like I can only use this in my studio and I couldn't bring it with me. And when I'm working on an illustration or a portrait, I want to use the same colors, the same pigments, so I just stick with a certain palette. Although I do want to use this more and understand the properties of this paint. But it's kind of weird because I'm not actually quite sure what these paints are. And it's set up in a way that is kind of weird for me. Like the way I set up my paints is I go yellow, red, purple, blue, and then I do green to brown. But this is set up like green and blue are like in opposite places for my logic. And I like to paint with yellow closest to me. But like when I'm trying to set up my palette, it's like yellow is far away if I put it this way, and if I put it this way, it takes up so much space on my desk. And if I put it this way, yellow is like over here, and it's just like, I'll get used to it and get over it. But yep, that's this palette. $2. What a steal. Next palette is this Pelican opaque watercolor set. So there are different brands that have sets like this. Like there's Lyra, there's Grumbacher, there's Talons. I spend a lot of time looking at watercolor stuff, if you haven't guessed. But yeah, so this is an opaque watercolor set. It's actually for children. I just really wanted to try it out because I wanted to kind of get back into gouache. That's a whole nother video about gouache, how to use it for school and stuff. And this is a kid's set, so it's not very opaque or anything. I don't think any of these are light fast. It's German, I believe. And it's just kind of fun to use. I've done a few paintings with this, and they're on my Instagram if you look for them. I arranged them this colorway. They did not come like this arrangement, but as you can see, it's like the way I think. I go yellow to orange, and I put like yellow ochre and like maybe raw sienna and stuff with the yellow, because in my brain, that is yellow. And then I go to red. I have like the browns, like burnt sienna and stuff with red, because in my brain that's orange or red. And then I go to purple because that's between red and blue. And I do blue, blue to green, and then green. Like if it was a full color wheel, it'd go back to yellow, but then it just goes to browns and blacks. I actually like using this because I don't feel a lot of pressure when I use it. It's kind of fun because it's a different medium. It's like weirdly between watercolor and between gouache. Because like gouache I use more opaquely, but I saw this really good painting by Nicholas Urib. I think that's how you pronounce his name, Urib. I don't know. He's an amazing painter, and he did this gouache like sketch, and it was like transparent to opaque, and I guess it never really occurred to me that you could use gouache that way until I saw that, even though I had been using gouache for some time for school stuff, but I used it mostly opaque because that's kind of how I was taught. So this kind of like is in between, is helping me get to that point. Yeah, so that's this palette. Probably, maybe I'll do reviews specifically on these palettes, even though this kind of turned into a review. So there's that. Okay, so this palette I got at work this summer. I was an intern. I don't really know if I'm allowed to say where I was an intern at, but I will. And hopefully nobody makes me take this video down. I was an intern at Hallmark Cards, and I got this there. I actually made this out of a bunch of dried up tubes, and I reconstituted them and put them in here. And the good thing about that is that they weren't tubes that I would have picked for myself. So like I have Naples yellow, which I'd never used before, but I actually really like. And there are some certain different other yellows. Like I would have never used this many yellows in my life, but I got to try them, which was great. This is a quinacridone gold, which I hadn't tried until this point. It's not the Daniel Smith kind. These are all Winsor and Newton paints, because those are the kind of paints that they use there, even though I prefer Daniel Smith. But they use these ones, which is fun. And that's alizarin. And I would have never used these blues either. And some of these paints were really old. And like this green, what is it? Terra Verde? Maybe. I forgot. Yeah, so I got this at work, and it's Winsor Newton Professional, and it was the first time I ever used these paints. I actually really like this palette, but it's plastic, which is irritating. But surprisingly, since I kind of seasoned it and scraped it down a little bit, you get these nice spreads sometimes. Yeah. The only thing I don't like about this palette is that, like, when it's wet, I have to leave it out, or else it, like, spills over. But yeah, that's this palette. For the final, like, large studio palette, I have travel palettes. Don't leave yet. For the final large studio palette, I have this Robert E. Wood palette, and oh my gosh, I've seen palettes like this, like, on the internet, on certain art forums, like Wet Canvas and whatever, when I started really getting into watercolor, and I was like, I'll never have a palette like that, and I didn't want to use a palette like that, because I like pan palettes because I could switch them around if I want, and I could add more colors, and it was never so permanent as this, and I'm like, I never work large enough like this anyway to get one like these, but I got this also at work, and everyone uses them there, and they're so great, and I like this whole lid thing, and it's a really nice palette. So it has this lid to make yourself stay wet, and it's kind of messy right now. Certain paints have certain smells, like these are Windsor Newton, like I said. They have a certain smell, and these smell a certain way that's very familiar, and it makes me feel happy because it reminds me of my summer, and I'm so excited to go back and work there. But yep, as you can see the way the nice thing about this is it's like the color wheel. You can see the way I think when I put this in here. The yellows, the reds, the purples. I actually put browns over here because I wanted the blues and the greens to be together, so it's kind of different. But I have a system. And this is the first time I used certain colors like Rose Doré and Indanthe Green Blue, which was super cool. And then this color, oh no, look, it's dried up. I haven't used this palette in a while. And this, what is this? Cobalt turquoise, maybe? Yeah. So I really liked this palette. I like using it. It has a lot of space here, which is nice. A lot of mixing area, because that's a bummer about like pan palettes and travel palettes. Like lots of the palettes I showed, I don't mix in them. I use plates and stuff instead. And I just have the paints as they are. So that's this palette. Ask me any questions. It's like plastic, but it's amazing plastic. Like look at this spread. It doesn't beat up, which is irritating. I think do they have ceramic versions of this? I wouldn't be surprised. But yep, that's this palette. So the next palette I have is this swivel palette that's from Meeden, or at least that's the seller that I got it from. I got it on Amazon, and I'm sure you've probably seen this if you're on Watercolor YouTube. And it's supposed to be for travel, and it swivels out, and I actually haven't used this very much. I just kind of tested it when I got it. I got it on a whim. And the palettes, not the palettes, the pans are kind of shallow, so it's definitely meant for travel. But the only problem is, like, if it's wet and you close it, it's interesting to me. It came with a water brush. Let's see if I can find that. Right here. It came with this water brush, and it goes in like this, and you have this really small mixing area, which is kind of weird. And like, I guess you're supposed to hold it like this, because I can't imagine what other way you would hold it. And if you're left-handed, you hold it like this, I guess. But the thing is, like, you can't get to all of the colors at the same time, which is interesting. So I don't know how useful. Also, these definitely do not match what is actually going on. So I don't know how useful this would actually be in a actual outdoor setting. I would have to try that out sometime to see it. But I just liked it because it was so interesting. It's a different setup for a palette. And I'm a collector now, so I collected it. I don't know the quality of the paints or anything, but it's a very interesting assortment. Yeah, so there's 42 colors, so I'm actually thinking of comparing this with the Cotman 40-42 set. I don't know the exact number. Maybe it's 45. I think it might be 45. The Cotman set might be 45 in the set, but there's actually only 40 actual colors. Yeah, so I might compare those at a later time, in a later video, or just for my own personal education. So there's this. Also, like this closes, but I'm afraid of dust like getting up in there. Well, maybe that wouldn't be a problem if I just had it out. I'm also afraid like if I threw this in my backpack without this, it'd get messed up. So that is for later exploration. Next palette I have is this Boku Undo. There's another name for it. Boku Undo Gansai palette. It's the one with all the different blacks. The reddish black, the yellowish black, the greenish black, the bluish black, the purplish black, the brownish black. And if you don't know anything about Gansai paints, they're a traditional Japanese painting medium, and they used it on rice paper. They use it on rice paper and stuff with the big brushes, which is why the pans are so big. But I don't think, let's see if I can take one out. I don't think there's actually more paint in them than traditional. Maybe there is. No, there isn't, because it doesn't actually fill all the way. I don't think there's actually more paint in here than in traditional Western paints. Although these look slight, I don't know. Yeah, so I got them because they were like different. I've considered getting the Kiritaki set, but then I'm like, there's no reason for me to get that. I'll probably eventually get one. Also, Gansai paints act differently than Western watercolors. They're not as transparent. They have a different binder. They don't granulate really, because all of the pigments are kind of milled smoothly. Some people you can check out if you want to learn more about this is Sadie Saves the Day. She has that is Sadie Saves the Day. She has a whole video about these kinds of paints, and Sarah Tepes, she uses them a lot, and she likes them, and she talks about them. These are interesting paints. I do like them. I just don't really use them that much because they're not really typical colors. And it's like if I'm gonna paint something, I'll probably go to a more typical set with more colors, because then I can make a specific kind of look or try some different things or have certain pigments that I like. Whereas this is like, I want to do a sketch that's kind of different. I want to use this specifically for that. It also comes in these, Gansai paints come in these like paper containers, and I'm afraid of them falling out, so I use some washi tape to keep them closed. I like this set. That's that. Next little set that I have is this Prima Marketing Decadent Pies. That's what it's called. And I picked this because it has some like neutral colors, but it has a lot of like yellows. I picked this one versus some other kinds because the colors, there were some dark colors and some light colors. What am I saying? I like more naturalistic tones versus like very vibrant tropical. I know they have a tropical one, they have a classic one. The classic one has like basic colors that I kind of already have. They have a pastel one that I might try sometime because it seems fun to try something different. But I tried these because these are colors that I liked altogether, and they were also kind of different than I had already. So it'd give me a reason to use this palette specifically. Also, these tins, they're like anywhere between like $12 to like $20, which is like more than a steal or a bargain for just this tin. So I was like, if I hate these paints, I can just throw them out and use just, see, it's not the best quality tin, but like for $12, $15, $20, oh my gosh. Yeah, there's a white for some reason. There's a little bit silver, and a few of them have a weird metallic-y consistency, and I don't like this, their texture. It's kind of weird and rough, and I feel like they might be like rubbing up on my brushes weird, but I do like the selection of colors in this palette, although I feel like I could make this set with colors I have, but it's nice. and I would definitely recommend this to someone who's just getting into watercolor and wasn't really sure, because they're kind of cheap and they're nice and they're cute. It's really cute. But Lord have mercy, it took me a while to scrape off the sticker it was in. That was on it. Ugh, took forever. Next watercolor set is this Raphael Campus watercolor set or something. Now, the weird thing about this set is that if you go online, it's like 30 bucks, 40 bucks. I think I might have saw it for 60 bucks. And I'm like, what? This travel set with arguably student grade paints? I don't know. Apparently Raphael is made by Sennelier, and you can get it on their website too. So maybe they're like kind of Sennelier paints. And they do seem really shiny and rewettable, which I like. But like, do you know how much I got this for? $5 used from a student here at school. And if that person paid more than $16 for this, I feel real bad for them. I got it for $5 though. And it's just really, I got it because it's so cute and different than any other set I had seen before. Like, it's a circle. I mean, it's not set up in the way I would like. Actually, it kind of is. If only those were switched. But it's pretty cool. I haven't really mixed on here, but I've used this for a couple things. And the ultra, I believe that this is called primary blue. Although it acts kind of like ultramarine and it granulates and it's super cool. And I actually like it a lot. There's an orange. I don't really use orange. I use like a light red or a sienna kind of color whenever something is orange. I don't really paint orange things. I'm getting off topic. But yeah, that's this one. See, it's like plastic. So I'm like, why would this be expensive? I don't understand. Don't buy this. I mean, unless you really want it, but I just wouldn't buy it for the price that it retails on online. Because I had to research what brand it was, because Campus isn't a brand. But apparently it's Raphael / Sennelier. Who knows? Yeah, $5. I wouldn't have a lot of these if I didn't buy them on sale. Although some of them, like on sale or for cheaper or used. Although some of them I did buy full price because I like them. I said I wouldn't do a disclaimer, but I did a disclaimer anyway. Okay, so this is a travel set. It is Sakura Koi. I'm sure you've seen these. This is not the top of this. This is from a different brush, but this is a travel set, Sakura Koi. And I got this at work as well. And I do not like these paints. My friend at work also got these paints and she didn't like them. I don't like them because they are very dry. That just flung out. Like, I thought the Cotmans were dry. These are freaking dry. Holy moly. I got it and they started falling out and cracking. And also, I rearranged this order. They don't come in like this. I feel like I say that for everything, but it's true. I don't really like this selection of colors. There's only like 2. I don't know. I just don't like them. The texture's weird. I feel like they paint weird. I just don't really like them. I don't, like, so many people use these, and I'm like, oh, those look really cool. And I've been tempted to get the bigger set. I only got these because I got them at work. I wouldn't have this otherwise. And I always thought about getting a set for myself. Because people have the 24 set or the 36 set. And I hate them. Like, I just don't like them. I'm waiting. I'm like, I need to use it so I can use this up. Because this whole set package is so cool. The casing is cool. It's so compact. It's such a good setup that I just want to use this and refill it with my own paints. And I'm like, I just need to use them first. Because I feel bad about wasting paint. I just feel bad about it. Even though theoretically I could just pop them out, throw them away. But I can't do that. I have to use them. Get a Prima Marketing one. Even though the texture of those is weird, I just prefer them over this. I don't like it. But I have it. I'll use it. eventually I'll refill it. And here we have 3 palettes that I made myself. I have a video on this one if you want to go back and look at it. Okay, so I found this idea on wet canvas, I believe. And it's to take it's an eyeshadow palette, which is already a palette of color, and just scrape out the eyeshadow and you put in colors that you like. There was white gouache in here, but it hardened up and it fell out, so I don't have it anymore. But you take that and then you put your colors in, and I added white here so I'd have a mixing surface, and I made this soft marine, maybe, soft marine color, so I've had it for a while. Most of these paints are from the original Yarka set, and I scooped them out, except for this one, which is one of my, that and that are Daniel Smith, maybe that too. This is my favorite color of all time. It's called Imidazzled Brown or Permanent Brown, PBR7. I love it so much. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Yeah, but this has pretty typical colors, and I don't really use it that much. Although it's nice to know that I have a palette at all times. Look how compact. Good idea if you want to make a cheap watercolor set. And then I did the same thing for this one. I actually made another one before this with the same kind of cheap brand of palette because I like this setup, and it was all Holbein, and then I lost it or something, and it's somewhere. But the thing is, it's so cheap that it's like, well, live and you learn. This is Grumbacher Academy pans. I got them on sale at school. I explain it in my video, and then I just needed a place to put them since I didn't want to put them in full pans. I just wanted to test them out, so I put them here. And then I have this little tiny set that I put some washi tape on, and I got this sticker. I think I got this sticker from the same, no, I got it at the same flea market I got that other palette at, but it wasn't the same person. I made this out of a little mint tin that I found in my mom's car. So some of these are from the Cotman set. That's what I was saying earlier when I said that some of the colors are missing. I've got, although this might be from the extra palette, I've got, I think this is probably cadmium yellow, medium, alizarin. I'm going to assume that's ultramarine. Maybe it's Prussian. Yeah, it's Prussian, I think. And then Payne's gray and Hooker's green, I think. And then this is my color, permanent brown, imidazzling brown. This is Holbein, so it's called imidazzling brown. Permanent brown, Daniel Smith. Someone hear me. Someone use it. Yeah, so those are my little palettes I've made for myself. Here we have my tubes. Yay! I have this box. It's a cigar box. Super cool. I got it. Excuse me. I got it from a cigar shop, which is nice, except that it smells like cigars, and then I had to air it out. I have a few cigar boxes actually for paints. You see my ultramarine blue. This is like my third tube, maybe my second tube of this color in Daniel Smith, because I use this to refill my main palette all the time. Yeah, you can see. Maybe I haven't used this one yet. You can see, look at that, ultramarine blue, almost all used up. People are like, pans last a long time, but when you paint professionally and you paint regularly, they don't. Okay, they just don't, especially when you use certain colors a lot. So this is just a mixed bag of paints. There's gouache in here, acrylic gouache. I got this from a friend used. I haven't ever used it. It's really big Da Vinci gouache that I got. It's white because you need a lot of white. I don't actually like this one that much because it dries so fast and it dries rock hard on palettes and stuff, which is annoying. I've got some Holbein gouache that I had to use for class. I like that kind. Some more Da Vinci gouache. I got this from was it a Dick Blick or something? For pretty cheap. They were all on sale. It's just like browns. Lemon yellow. I have an ultramarine violet that I haven't used that I got from that same flea market I was talking about earlier. Oh, look, washi tape. Random hair. The Grumbacher paints that I put in that palette. This casein. Casein is kind of like gouache, but it's made with like milk protein or something. James Gurney uses casein. Yeah. I'm trying to find my anthraquinoid red, but it might not even be in here. I got some Holbein stuff. I got this set of Holbein paints. I actually bought this one, but I got a set of paints, 12 paints like this for free on this weird thing that happened to me. That's a story for a different day. But yeah, I'll just keep refills and stuff in here, or just tubes that I get. Like, sometimes I buy paints just because, like, people are selling them here for, like, less than they're actually worth because they want to get rid of them. So I'll buy them. And then I found this at a Five Below, and it was $5. Just wanted to try out a cheapo set to see how good they were. I did a review on this. You can look at it. And they're just the Royal Langnickel watercolors. They don't have ultramarine blue. What is that front? They have Prussian and they have violet, but they don't have ultramarine, which I would say is more useful than Prussian blue, but whatever. Yeah, so this was $5. Let me come out. I put these in a palette, but they dried up and fell out, so that was annoying. So I can't squeeze them out. And I had actually had, like, a Royal Langnickel set before, that was 24s, that I got from TJ Maxx or Marshalls when I was, like, a freshman or sophomore in high school. Maybe even when I was in 8th grade, to be perfectly honest. I can't remember. And those paints, man, they stunk. They were stinky. And I had to throw those all away, but I want to try them again, just, like, now that I actually know how to paint with watercolor and see how they turn out. They're okay. I would never use them on, like, professional work because they're not light fast. They don't behave in the way watercolors behave, since I'm pretty sure they're all dyes and they don't have any kind of pigment, like actual natural pigment in them. It's just dye. I do want to try the Arteza colors because those apparently have pigments and pigment information. So I might buy those sometime. I think about it, but then I'm just like, Teji, do you actually need more paint? And the answer is always no. And last but not least, unless I have forgotten something, which I don't think I've forgotten about it. We've been here for a while, haven't we? Are these Dr. P.H. Martin's Radiant Concentrated Watercolor. They're not actually watercolor paints in that they have pigments. They're dyes. And they're used for a lot of design work. And I was obsessed with them because they're so bright, and I got them for my 16th birthday present. So I've had them for almost 5 years now, and I barely use them because they're so tricky. They're just tricky to use, man. They're so pigmented, and I got all of the colors, because each of these is like $50. But since it was my 16th birthday present, and I got it from my mommy, she let me get them all. I used them on my my senior year project. My AP studio art concentration, I used these on some of them when I was 17. No, did I get these when I was 6? No, I got them when I was 16, and I didn't use them until like a year later, because I still don't really know how to use them, but I think I'll start using them more. They're really cool. There are certain colors I like the most. As I said before, I like to mix put the colors in some kind of color logic, so when I'm looking for them, I can find them. They have an A set, B set, C set, and a D set, as you can see by these numbers. There are 53 of them, I think. 56 of them, and they come in sets of 14. But I put them in like reds and oranges, greens and blues, and then there's one that's supposed to be yellows and oranges, but as you can see, some of them have been mixed up. And then this I took with me when I went to my internship to use, and they're just like my favorite colors. Like I love this slate blue color, and I love this mahogany color of black, and I love this golden brown. And they're just like my favorite versions of the colors that are available. There's just so many colors. That's the problem. And it just kind of takes a lot to set up, so I haven't used them, but there's a couple missing. Peacock blue and iris blue. But they're very pigmented, but they fade. They're not actual pigments, so they fade, which is why I don't really use them on work. But then it's like, if I'm going to just scan it in anyway and make it a digital file, might as well use these, you know? I don't know. But, yep. And with these, that's my whole watercolor collection. So far, I'll probably end up getting more paint eventually because I just like paint. Paint is my life, basically. Painting is my life. And I love palettes. I just like the different ideas that, like, just look at how, like, the variety of palettes that you can, that's amazing to me. It's just amazing. So, yeah. If you've actually lasted this long, we've had a nice chat, haven't we? We've had a nice chat. I feel like you've probably gotten to know me a little bit if you have been here. Tell me if you want me to do a review or a demo or a painting with any of these, because I probably will anyway. And winter break is coming up and I have a lot of time. I actually have a lot of time most of the time, except for when I procrastinate. So, yeah. Good chat. Bye.